decided that he can dispense completely with his oversuit. Beside him, Troy Corser and Jamie Whittam, whose bike we're looking out of right now, completely besuited, but they're really in a minority. I think they're probably the only guys left who've got full waterproofing on. Other people have decided that they're going to be more comfortable without. So let's. I certainly hope that Jamie's gets all right with his boiler suit. I suppose he can take it off after he's done his warm-up lap if he feels that it's restricting him in any way. Certainly at the moment, the weather is a lot better, and that rain we thought we'd never depart looks almost as if it's still coming down, but at least it's coming down very lightly, Steve. It's not, apparently Jamie Whittam has a Yorkshire expression, siling down, which is what it was doing before. It was certainly hammering onto their Suzuki tent, and now it looks as if it's eased back considerably.
And there was a lot of uneasiness after the warm-up. They were saying when the rain was coming down very heavily, that the puddles that were out on the back of the circuit were dangerous. You didn't know what you were going to come across the next lap because the puddles were growing or getting smaller depending on how much rain was coming down. But I think that will help them now, the fact that it has eased, and hopefully there won't be as much water laying on the circuit.
And here we have the various rounds, some of which, as we've already mentioned, we might be losing during the course of the year. And back live here at Albacete, watching the warm-up lap. These are the brave boys who are out there. As you can see, most of them now showing off their leathers rather than their oversuits. Pole position for Haga, second place Russell, Yamaha 1-2, third place for Hodgson on Kawasaki, and the first Ducati of Livia in fourth. Second row, Colin Edwards, Aaron Slight, Hondas together, Yanagawa's Kawasaki, and King Carl, as they were calling him at Monza, on the Ducati. Third place, third row, Keely's Ducati, Corsa's Ducati, the two teammates together again. It's a very even setup, isn't it? Whittam and Bontempi, followed by Gramini, Peter Goddard, Copiajo, the electric Finn, who popped up there and surprised us, and Jean-Marc Delatang, who's gone back to a 1997 bike and is going a lot better as a result. Ago Yerman, Prota, Stroud, Murray. I must have asked that lad how we pronounce his name sometimes, Steve. And on the back row, all on his own, Karban Suzuki. And there, that's a rather uncried picture, Steve. That makes it look incredibly misty out there, whereas in fact it's more like that. From what we can see by naked eye, the weather's really looking quite reasonable, and here's Jamie giving us some idea of what it's going to be like out there with riders in front of you. Yeah, and as I say, it will be interesting if we do get a shot off the start line, because I'm sure it will be pretty poor visibility for James Whittam starting there on the third row. But yeah, the camera picture we saw earlier, I'm sure he's got a misting up problem with his lens, and we'll have to get that fixed. But as the riders come around, they start to form up on the grid now. The man at the front there with the red flag, we will see as the riders all come round. There somebody at the back of the grid that will be waving a green flag when it's all clear, but that will be some time yet as they start to form up, and they're coming up, waiting on the for the start of this superbike race. So one of the tidiest lineups we'll ever see. Yamaha's together, Honda's together, and Ducati's together. Red lights on. And they're off. They howl away from alongside us now, and it's Norihaga who's really got the burst, and Lavia's up there as well. I think he might have edged Hodgson out by getting inside him. Gramini's come right up inside on the first turn. Colin Edwards has taken a tremendous wide line from the second row, which I think has got him into a very hot position. Jamie Whittam in the very noticeable blue boiler suit buried in midfield, so he'll be getting plenty of spray there. And Hodgson's right there around the outside. Neil Hodgson right in there in the front three. So it's absolutely stupendous stuff off the start here. Here they come round. Norihaga, Neil Hodgson number 5, Colin Edwards in third place. And fourth place for Larila, followed by Keely number 4, Yanagawa, and Carl Fogarty looking for some way through the mid-pack, but at the moment the men with the clear vision are Haga, Edwards coming up the inside, testing out those Michelins. We think the Michelins might be the best tyres, and it'll be interesting to see how the two Dunlop men at the front manage. At the moment they're holding on there, and they're holding on well. There's Fogarty number 2 in mid-pack.
That was a great start for Neil Hodgson, albeit that he was off the front row. It's in a perfect position. Now we're on board with James Whittam on the Suzuki with the Dunlops. He is down in, I think, 9th or 10th place, so Jamie Whittam didn't get a particularly good start. Nevertheless, Hodgson in front now. Number 5, Neil Hodgson in front. Going with him is Colin Edwards. Colin Edwards, the quickest man in the warm-up. I know he's going to be fast. He was extremely quick in the warm-up and was very happy. We're now back with a misty camera here. We can't see a lot, but Hodgson in front.
And Haagesson going backwards, Steve, and Haagesson was 13th in training, in free training this morning when we had them out for 20 minutes. He didn't look that happy in these conditions, and he's slipping back. He's behind Lavia and Troy Corser now. So could it be that the Japanese Dunlop-clad Yamaha, he's got Fogarty right behind him on Michelin's, is not as happy with these conditions? Perhaps he's just not accustomed to racing in these conditions.
No, and Gramini, what a start he made there. Number 39, he's right off of the 4th row there. He was right up there, but in as they come past us now, at the end of the straight, Hodgson gets into the last turn. He's still in front, but the man that's going to be fast, in my opinion, is going to be Colin Edwards, number 45, on the Castrol Honda. He was quickest by some way in the warm-up. He'll be desperately keen to get past Neil Hodgson if he can and break that toe from the rest of them.
But this is a great performance from Hodgson on the Dunlop-clad Kawasaki. Gramini, former 125 world champion, 3rd place. Lavia there in 4th. Lavia, of course, if you remember, Hodgson doesn't have fond memories of Albacete last year because Lavia torpedoed it completely off his Ducati here, and then in the second race wiped out Carl Fogarty, so he was definitely the villain of the British piece here. Let's hope he behaves himself. Hodgson said the one thing he wanted to do was get away ahead of Lavia, so he didn't have any of those problems to contend with. And at the moment, Gregorio is down in 4th place, Corsa right behind him 5th, but at the front, it's Neil Hodgson, proving that those Dunlop wets mustn't be that bad because he's presently holding off Colin Edwards on the Michelin-clad Honda.
Now, Dunlop were quite keen to get to use these tyres. They used them in the Le Mans 24-hour race when it was very wet and got 1st and 2nd. They're British-English-made or British-made Dunlop tyres as opposed to the Japanese. The riders do get a choice of which ones to use, and they've opted for the English-made ones, or the British-made ones, should I keep saying. But the man that's leading, and he is on those Dunlops, is number 5, Neil Hodgson, and I wish we could get this camera demisted because it's not a good shot there as they come through. But Edwards, I'm surprised, hasn't had taken a lunge down the inside. It looks like Hodgson has actually extended that lead by a little bit. On the first lap, he was the quickest man round the circuit, and still number 39, Gramini is there. Number 2 there, we see Carl Fogarty. He's unfortunately down in 8th place. Not a particularly good start from him.
But at least he's making some progress, although he's lost that front group of riders at the moment. The front group have broken away, and then you have the gravy train, the front 6, screaming past us here, and Hodgson really looking very, very comfortable at the front. His 1:46.014 he's bumped his lap time down to. Absolutely terrific. Well, I did forget to mention earlier on, this race has been reduced from 26 laps as originally proposed to 20 laps. And as the guys get quicker and quicker, so they're making their race shorter and shorter. So here is Neil Hodgson round the hairpin, bottom gear hairpin, that tight right-hander, the tightest turn on the track. And he's got Colin Edwards right up the backside of the Kawasaki. But at the moment, Hodgson looking very comfortable at the front. And in 3rd place, Gramini looking tremendous. The 1992 125 world champion. I beg your pardon, he's been passed. Lavia, number 35, has come through into 3rd place. He could be the danger man. He's not. Oh, and Igor Yerman, the 22-year-old Slovenian, has gone down on his Bertocchi Kawasaki. So that's the first casualty of the wet conditions. Yerman goes down, probably the least experienced rider in the field. But Hodgson's leading.
I can't believe what I'm seeing here. The marshals are dragging. I hope that's not the racetrack. Maybe that's a slip road, but they're dragging that muddy Kawasaki that looks very injured across the track, or it looked like across the track. Still leading, number 5, Neil Hodgson. A great ride from him here, but there's no question about it. The fastest man on the circuit on our monitor now is Aaron Slight, down in 6th place. Aaron Slight done a 1:45.2. He's coming through, and we see that Kawasaki sliding down the track, and I do believe I saw those marshals dragging that muddy Kawasaki across the middle of the track. That's not going to please the riders at all.
And at the moment, Hodgson, Edwards, number 35, Lavia. And they're absolutely nose to tail, with Gramini just dropping off the back slightly. And is Edwards going to nose up the inside? Has Hodgson given him space? It looks as if he might have done. There's number 35 going through in 3rd place, but it is indeed Edwards at the front. Edwards slides through inside, and he has been threatening that for the last couple of laps. And now, oh, Neil's coming straight back at him, up the inside. Well done, Hodgson gets through, and Lavia's there. Now Hodgson's right where he wants to be, but he doesn't want that man Lavia right behind him. He reckons that Lavia only torpedoes Ducatis. Let's hope he's right, and then he doesn't get the red mist fall at the sight of the green Kawasaki in front of him. But at the moment, we may have a small crowd here, but boy, are they excited by this. Here comes Lavia, and Edwards is in there. Lavia does stuff himself in front. Hodgson thinks, no, I'm not going to get involved with him this time. I know what the guy's capable of. Here comes Edwards back again, and he gets underneath. Neil has suddenly gone from first. But really, the way that these guys are chopping and changing, that's nothing to be disheartened about. He's still in there, still in third place, fastest lap from Keeley. And here's Jamie Whittam on board with James Whittam. He's down in 11th place, just behind Pierre Giorgio Bontempi's Bertocchi Kawasaki, and obviously tried to find a way past him, but not easy in these conditions. And at the moment, at the front, Lavia, the man who finished 7th here last year, his best result of World Superbikes in 1997, in one race, having knocked off Hodgson and then knocked himself and Fogarty off in the second race.
Well, this is brave stuff from Lavia. He certainly will know the track conditions. Being a Spanish rider, he's obviously ridden around here a great deal in the wet, and probably the best thing that Edwards could do, number 45, who's in second place, is follow him. He'll know where the grip is, and there are times in these conditions that maybe not the fastest and the racing line is the grippier. Sometimes you have to run a little wide, you pick up a bit more grip, so maybe it's not a bad idea for Edwards to follow him. While these front few are tripping over one another, they're all catching, and we saw Keeley putting up the fastest lap, so they've got to watch out that the others don't catch him up while they're all tripping over one another. But Lavia now is stretching that advantage. He's pulling away a little bit from Edwards, and Corsa now dropped into third place, who's past Neil Hodgson.
And of course, this front leader, the Diceco Ducati of Lavia, is on Dunlops. He's riding the wet weather Dunlops ahead of the Michelin-clad Castrol Honda of Colin Edwards in second place. Troy Corsa, double winner in 1996, number 11 in third place, and beginning to look menacing, although he was the guy who was least happy about going out and racing. He certainly wasn't happy after the 20-minute warm-up, and he's really beginning to attack Colin Edwards.
Yeah, well, the times are coming down now. The riders have found the limitations. We're back on board with Jamie Whittam here, or we're half back on board with him. I'm not sure where we are, but maybe he'd got a wheelie on. But this is Whittam now, and he is unfortunately running down in 11th place. Having said that, he's not far behind Carl Fogarty, who's in 9th place. But the battle at the front, and I think it's Slight, the man that's going the quickest, or he's pushing very, very hard. So Aaron Slight catching this pack up. But in front, we still have Gregorio Lavia, followed by 45, Colin Edwards on the Castrol Honda, and Aaron Slight, that man that seems to sit behind everyone and wait towards the end of the race to go for a move.
And two guys not very happy at the moment, Steve, for sure. The Japanese pairing in 12th and 13th positions, Norihaga and Akira Yanagawa on Yamaha and Kawasaki respectively, with Peter Goddard just behind them. So not happy bunnies there at the back of the field, but a very happy bunny at the front. Here he is, Gregorio Lavia, the 24-year-old, number 35, and he's going to find himself under pressure soon from Troy Corsa. If Corsa can find a way past Colin Edwards, then it could be that he's going to get himself into a position to attack the front runner Lavia. And behind them, Neil Hodgson still good in 4th place ahead of Aaron Slight. Frankie Keeley's joined this group. He's been riding tremendously well to pull himself into contention, and then while he's been doing that, he's been dropping Gramigni, Russell and Fogarty back into the hands, I was going to say, of Jamie Whittam, but in fact Jamie has got through into 10th place past Bontempi, but he's rather lost contact with the guys in front.
And now the fastest man on the track again is Keeley. Keeley is the man that's really pushing. He was back with Carl Fogarty, but he's managed to catch this pack up. So he is really flying, and he's put in a 1:44.2. I tell a lie, because Lavia's gone quicker again now. So Lavia at the front is really pushing on. As I said, he'll know this circuit intimately. He's been around here many, many times in these wet conditions, and it is very difficult. Look how much he's got that bike leant over. Considering how wet it is, those Dunlops are really sticking to the road well.
And behind him, Aaron Slight has slipped past Neil Hodgson, and Hodgson now is feeling the heat, if we can call it that on a day like today, from wet weather specialist. We know he's a wet weather specialist. One in Monza in teeming rain. That's Frankie Keeley. He's right in there, and he's just lapped at 1:44.22. But Lavia's done a 1:43.79. He's really tramping on at the front, and all the time he's just opening up that little bit of a gap over Edwards. Oh, and that twitchy Dunlop-clad Kawasaki of Neil Hodgson. Hodgson desperately holding on there. Keeley seemed to be trying to find an outside line past him as they came through the chicane, and at the moment, Keeley is absolutely in the slipstream of Neil Hodgson, weaving down the straight together, refusing to be shaken off, and I think he's going to get up the inside. He has.
So the Edwards won't be particularly perturbed about Lavia because he's not really chasing the championship. Edwards, I think he'd be more than comfortable and more than happy with a second here today, so he won't be bothering chasing after number 35 we're looking at now. And Lavia does set the fastest lap, a 42.98 on lap 6. He's got the tyres, he knows he's confident, and he knows everything's working well for him. And we're looking now as Corsa has a look round the outside of 45 Edwards at that point. But as I said, they won't be particularly worried about Lavia disappearing into the middle distance because he's not chasing the championship, and it is an exceptionally good ride from him, but it is his home circuit.
And it's interesting to see that Scott Russell on the Michelin-clad Yamaha has escaped from cover. There goes, oh, Corsa looking round the outside, turning his attention to the inside on the long left-hander. But so far not able to find a route past Colin Edwards. And of course Corsa at the moment in the championship only 5 points behind Norrie Haga, who's slumbering down in 11th place. So he knows that he can possibly take the championship lead, in fact very likely take it after this race. Number 35 Lavia at the front, number 45 in the mists Colin Edwards, Troy Corsa, and number 111 behind Corsa, Aaron Slight. Hodgson is next, Keeley after them, Gramigni still putting up a fine performance, 4 seconds down on the leader, Scott Russell next up, and then it's Foggy and Whittam 9th and 10th.
And Corsa's most definitely now being held up by Edwards. There's no question he looks faster, and Keeley goes round the outside there, so now Keeley's moved up one position. I think he's coming through, yeah, and Keeley he's passed Slight. So we're down the main straight, and look at the Corsa's looking on the inside, and he's got it also. So Corsa now, no he doesn't. Corsa looked like he was going to dive down the inside of Colin Edwards, there's no question about it. He's faster, he's looking to pass him every which way, inside, outside, but nevertheless, Keeley's now right on the rear of him.
And this man, Gregorio Lavia, look at him, he's away on his own. He said that he would just be taking the race as it came in the press conference yesterday evening. He wasn't really that concerned about things, no point in making predictions, but look at Keeley. Keeley gets underneath Corsa. Oh, Frankie Keeley, the 33-year-old Italian who was overjoyed with his 3rd place in the second race at Monza, is now up into 3rd place here in the rain at Alba. No, he's back again. Corsa retaliates. Oh, tremendous stuff, sparring the 2 teammates here, the 1996 world champ Corsa and his teammate number 7, Frankie Keeley, all over the back of Colin Edwards. Edwards very easy, looking pretty stable and steady on the Honda under this sort of pressure. But he's holding it on at the moment behind Lavia. As you said, Steve, he won't be too concerned about Lavia. We'll join us again in a few moments for more tremendous action. Number 35, Gregorio Lavia. 45, Colin Edwards, and all over the back of him, the Virginio Ferrari Ducatis of Corsa and Keeley. This is great racing in this all the time, Steve. It's drying, it looks as if the rain really has stopped now, and the track is genuinely drying out.
Well, it has eased, it is still raining, and actually these riders will be pleased it is still raining, because as you said earlier, they're on such very soft tyres, and if it stops raining then they only last about 3 or 4 laps, and there's no question about it, 1 or 2 of the riders will have probably chosen different compounds here, and we're looking at number 7 there. Keeley has a look at Corsa. They'll all be just checking one another out. No one wants to go too fast. It's so easy to throw the whole plot away and not pick any points up, so at the moment I think they're just going to sit as they are, basically letting Lavia disappear, and he's now 3 seconds in front, and they must be thinking to themselves, well, there's got to be some grip out there, because Lavia is certainly finding it, and they're all bunched up behind that man we see in 2nd place, 45 Edwards on the Castrol Honda. And at the moment there we see Corsa keeping his 3rd place, but all the time Frankie Keeley is trying to nip past him. Always the hardest thing to do is to pass your teammate, because he's the last person you really want to knock off. Not because you don't want to be in front of him, it's because you don't want to get a roasting from your team manager.
And it's nice to see that Neil Hodgson in 6th place is not losing an inch to these guys. He's hanging right in there just behind Aaron Slight, the 2 of them with a grandstand view of proceedings, and they want to stay in touch with this group because anything could yet happen. We haven't reached half distance, we're on about the 8th lap out of 20, and it's Frankie Keeley providing the hot action as he climbs over Corsa, who thought that he didn't really think that he had anything to worry about from the back. He thought that his attention was focused completely on Colin Edwards. Edwards looking very neat and tidy, and this man, Gregorio Lavia, looking pretty damn neat and tidy as well at the front. And here's Keeley again. Keeley goes up the inside. Keeley's in there. He's into 3rd place. Passes Troy Corsa very cleanly. No problems there, Steve. I don't think he did anything to upset Virginio Ferrari. And we've got the first lapper at the front. Gregorio Lavia comes round the first turn. And these are the guys behind him as they go streaming onto the main straight into our view.
Yeah.
And at the moment, Keeley right alongside Colin Edwards, absolutely alongside Colin Edwards. Has he got it up the inside? Oh, both of them push up out of the ferry together, neck and neck. I think Keeley's got it.
Keeley goes through on turn one, end of the start and finish race, nicely passing the back marker. In fact, they all get through there. The back marker moves out the way. Keeley now up into second place, and it did look like he was being held up. Corser will be keen to go with him. We saw him trying to pass Edwards earlier, but Keeley's the one that's charged through. He is a star in these conditions, and as they rip round this circuit, whether or not Keeley can close that gap on Lavia, Samantha Davis on the left there, and Keeley's girlfriend, or in fact wife, on the right there, watching with interest, both watching the monitor and probably panicking in these conditions.
I think interest is a very mild word for it, Steve. Watching in a form of absolute panic, I think. Number 7, Keeley, watching their two loved ones racing like this in the wet. Absolutely fantastic action from Albacete. Scream into turn one, and as you can see, Scott Russell, number 44, making progress, and this man, Frankie Keeley, now just a second and a half adrift of the leader. Troy Corser finally managed to find a way inside number 45, the Honda of Colin Edwards, and he also is trying to go with Keeley as Keeley very rapidly closes down the Ducati of leader Gregorio Lavia. Jamie Whitham has lost 10th place to Nori Haga, but is hanging on to him there in 9th and 10th places. Beg your pardon, 10th and 11th places behind Carl Fogarty. Look at this at the front. Gregorio Lavia, who must have felt when he got that lead of about 3 or 4 seconds, wow, this is my lucky day. But no, Frankie Keeley, the 35-year-old, absolutely indestructible Italian, is getting right there with him. He's closing absolutely by the foot all the time we look at them, Steve.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Lavia made a mistake. If he didn't, Keeley has really put the pressure on. In fact, he's lapped at 8 tenths faster than Lavia. Whether Lavia had a problem the lap before, but he's taken huge chunks out of him whilst we were on the commercial break. So now Keeley is right behind number 35, Lavia, and at the pace he's going, he's just going to pass him very, very quickly. That's pulled out a huge lead over Troy Corser. Troy Corser now 4 seconds behind Keeley. So Corser, he's really got to get through. He's managed to pass Edwards, but nevertheless he's 4 seconds behind Keeley. So we watch with interest now if Frankie Keeley can power his way past. His bike should be faster. It is a full factory bike as opposed to the bike we see in the front, which is bought really over the counter. It's a completely standard 996 Ducati, and as we look, Keeley comes down the inside and just nonchalantly slams it down. No, he doesn't.
And a great ride from Lavia, who cuts across. Of course, we know that he can cut people up around this track, and he certainly looks willing to. Frankie Keeley, we've just heard, actually changed machines after the warm-up. He went out in his one of his factory bikes and then took the tyres off that, changed them to the spare bike, and this is the bike that he's racing. So, because and a nasty moment there for Lavia. And has that shaken him up enough? No, he recovers bravely on his Dunlops to still hold off that Michelin-clad factory bike number 7 of Keeley.
That will be concerning for Keeley, because Keeley will want to be past him, because it looks like now Lavia is starting to make a few mistakes. Maybe the tyre's going off. If he's chosen the really, really soft tyre, then even in these conditions they can start to tear up. And Keeley nearly rammed in the side of him at that point. I think Keeley will be desperately keen to get past this man, number 35, Gregorio Lavia.
We're on the 12th of 20 laps, and here we are. This is the battle for the lead. Gregorio Lavia of Spain, Pier Francesco Keeley of Italy, trying every way he can. And has he made it this time? Did he have the extra grunt? He did. He did. He powers round the outside on the factory Ducati. Please don't believe it's that misty. It ain't. Here we are again. We can see what's going on. Well, that was a perfect move. We're using that extra grunt of the factory engine, I think, Steve.
Yeah, I think he certainly did, and it isn't that misty for us, but it probably is for the riders. I'd dare say their visibility is nothing like as good as ours. Visor misting problems and rain on the visor. There's not much you can do about it. There's certainly no wipers on those. So now we see number 7, Frankie Keeley, disappearing. His lap times will most certainly come down again. He was held up because Corser was putting in the fast lap. Now Corser started to close in a little bit. He put the fastest lap up 2 laps ago. Now that Keeley has a clear track in front of him, I can see him completely extending that lead, and really that will give him a great chance to just back the pressure off a bit, or just to slow things down.
And behind them, Aaron Slide. There's a great race going on for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th places, because Scott Russell, the Michelin-clad Yamaha of Scott Russell, is now 7th and close behind the trio of Aaron Slide, Colin Edwards and Neil Hodgson. So great racing going on, just a second covering the 4 of them. Behind them, Gravini's dropped back a bit, but Fogarty now is way back, half a minute off the pace in 9th place. and he's 7 seconds ahead of the battle between Haga and Whittam. And here's Troy Corser, the man who's making ground. 1:41.93 was the tremendous lap he put in a couple of laps ago, and that's closing him rapidly down on Gregorio Lavia. And now it's looking as if we might have Virginio Ferrari's Ducatis in first and second places if Troy Corser carries on this mercurial progress. And here's Jamie Whittam gallantly hanging onto the back of Nori Haga's pole-setting Yamaha, absolutely giving him loads. Jamie wants to be in that top 10. Haga at the moment has got that 10th place, and there they are. Jamie in that wonderful boiler suit. He's determined to get the better of Haga. He's no respecter of reputations, and he felt that these weather conditions even out everybody's chances of success, and that wherever you were starting from, all you had to do was get your head down, keep going, and make sure that you didn't make any really too dangerous mistakes. But the main thing, and Jamie really snaking through the chicane there. He's giving it everything in his pursuit of Nori Haga.
Yeah, the next person that's going to be giving Lavia a hard time is Corser, because Corser's closed him down. He's only about 3 seconds behind now. And less than that, we see visibly there's Corser in third place, but he's only about 1.5 seconds now behind the second place man. So Corser and Lavia most certainly will be getting pit signals, and Corser's coming through. As you say, considering there wasn't a Ducati apart from Lavia on the first 2 rows of the grid in the normal qualifying sessions, the Ducatis are certainly finding these wet conditions suiting them better.
And we've just seen Scott Russell nick a place from Neil Hodgson up the inside. So the two fluorescent orange Americans, number 45 Edwards, number 44 Scott Russell on Castrol Honda and Yamaha respectively, are really upping the pace now. Neil Hodgson just slipped in behind them. He's got to hope that he can do something to retaliate, but there's Aaron Slight, and they're the 2 Americans behind him. 24-year-old Texan Colin Edwards and 33-year-old... what a moment for Scott Russell. Both feet on the deck. That could have been nasty, but he seems to have saved it, and that must have alarmed Neil Hodgson.
Well, it certainly would. We saw Scott Russell have a similar situation now. I saw him last year in Australia in these type of conditions, but yeah, he lost the whole plot there, feet off the footrest. That could have been quite nasty. It's very easy to just sprain an ankle or something silly like that as he slammed his feet down the ground. And we watch him now, he comes out, and that's a second gear corner. Just managed to put his foot down there, flicked his foot back up on the bike. That really would have ripped the soles off of his boots virtually, but Scott Russell manages to stay on. Right, now we're seeing, and look, now we've got Troy Corser in second place, I think. Has he gone through?
No, I think he's just lapped Frederick Prota. He's still got to catch Lavia. Here's the gaggle behind them. Slight, Edwards, the 2 Castrol Hondas don't seem to be able to stay away from one another these days. They were all over one another all the way through the races at Monza. Edwards was the victor there. At the moment, Aaron Slight's looking to find a way past him because he needs the points. Beg your pardon, Aaron Slight's in front of him. It's Edwards who wants to get past because they could both do with the points. At the moment, Haga on 104, 99 for Corser, 96 for Fogarty, 87 for Edwards. Edwards can definitely make a lot of ground on Fogarty right now.
I would hazard a guess that Colin Edwards went for a softer tyre than Aaron Slight. Aaron Slight's passed him, and Aaron Slight's getting quicker and quicker as the race goes on, and Edwards, who was the fastest at the early part of the race, is tending to slow. So I would say that Edwards maybe has some tyre problems here. That hasn't deterred number 44 Scott Russell, as he's back on the gas and right up the exhaust pipe of 45 Colin Edwards. So I think Edwards maybe has gone for a soft tyre. He seems to be slowing.
And that was the problem, as the Suzuki manager Lester Harris did say earlier on, that if the track did really begin to dry out, when you'd put the very soft compound wets on, then you could find those tyres getting wrecked by three-quarter distance, half to three-quarter distance in the race. And it does look as if Colin Edwards is in trouble, because Scott Russell going up for the inside line, both of them popping up out of the screen together. It's very the danger warning beacon orange tops at least mean we can see them in that misty camera. And at the moment we're back here with Jamie. Oh, look at Haga-san. And just saving a tremendous and typically Japanese slide there. And we're back with the leader, Pier Francesco Chili.
And that lead has stabilised now, so Keeley will be getting pit signals. We have 4 laps remaining here at Albacete. Keeley will have got a pit signal to say that he has a lead, and at the moment it's only 2.2 seconds, so whether or not he has any problems, I don't know.
Yeah, that lead hasn't got any greater. Scott Russell is on a charge, and I think Niels Hodgson's beginning to think he's got a chance of getting back at Edwards.
Well, the people that have gone for maybe the harder compound tyres will be putting on a spurt now. Number 4, Russell puts his hand up. Has Scott Russell, number 44? I don't know if he's got a problem or whether he pushes pushed his way through there and is putting his hand up to say sorry about that. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I think it was an apology from Scott Russell when he had passed Colin Edwards.
It seemed a strange time to apologise, didn't it? It seems to have put him right back in Edwards' clutches again. But here we go, the two Americans still together, breaking absolutely side by side. And Whittam, look at Whittam. What? He hasn't got any visibility at all, bless him. But he's certainly giving Haga a very, very hard time. And Colin Edwards is back, just to disprove our theories completely, in front of Scott Russell. And I wonder what Russell's playing at.
I don't really know. There was a lot of gesticulation going on there. Maybe Scott Russell has a misting visor. I'm trying to have a look, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Nor is with Neil Hodgson. We can see his face in there quite plainly, and we'd probably see if we can see better. Great big wide eyes, because he is desperately keen now, I would think, to move up, and he's looking fast. Who's the fastest man on the circuit? It's Lavia. Lavia has done a quicker lap now than Keeley, and the gap is down to 2 seconds. So we keep an eye as this race closes in. 4 laps remaining. Lavia is actually closing in again on Keeley.
And Hodgson looking for a way round Scott Russell. They come onto the straight. Keeley is leading. Lavia second. And they're as evenly spaced as that. And there goes Troy Corser. So it really is still anybody's race. Do you think Frankie Keeley is that confident he's been able to back off this much, Steve?
Well, yeah, or again, maybe he's got some tyre problems. Maybe he used up those soft tyres early on and he's feeling that he wants to back the pace, but it's down to 1.9 seconds now. That's still a considerable amount. There you see the gap, the visible gap. It is closing, but Corser now is very, very close to Lavia. So Corser will be keen to get through. As I said, 3 laps remaining here. The conditions are still wet. It is raining, but the rain has eased.
And at the moment, we also can see, just going past us now, Carl Fogarty in a very, very lonely 9th place. But these guys aren't lonely, and certainly Corser isn't lonely, because he is beginning to claw back time on Gregorio Lavia. He can see that 2nd place ahead of him, and he knows that the other guys are downfield. We've just seen Haga and Whittam tear past us, with Jamie still right in the slipstream of Nori Haga. And here's Troy Corser. Troy Corser still looking to get himself close enough to attack Gregorio Lavia. You've got to admire the way the Spaniard's riding, Steve.
He's doing a great, great job, but I think Troy Corser, we know how great he is at pacing himself. He'll be getting accurate pit signals from his board as he goes past. He'll know there's these 3 laps remaining, and he'll also know he's only a second behind the man in front, that he'll want to get past Gregorio Lavia. And we watched Troy Corser in Monza bide his time and come through in the 1st race. 2nd race didn't go quite to plan, did it, as he nearly careered into the airbags, but nevertheless, I think Troy Corser, it'd be a fairly safe bet to think he's going to be right behind Lavia on the last lap and maybe make a move.
And if he does that, in fact, even if he doesn't do that, I still think he's probably going to take the lead in the World Championship. So that should be one very happy man there, number 11, Troy Corser, if he stays where he is. But he'll be a lot happier if he does, and he is an absolute master of the late move, isn't he? An absolute master of the well-timed last lap pass, and certainly he's lining up Lavia. We know who is relatively inexperienced, but certainly is a brave boy. And they've just lapped Andrew Stroud, the New Zealander, on his Kawasaki. And at the moment you can see 5th place Edwards, 6th. Hodgson has got back past Russell. Well done, that boy Neil Hodgson. Back through past Scott Russell into 6th place.
And it really is all about these 3 men. It's Keeley at the front, Lavia and Corser, because Aaron Slight is 8 seconds behind Slight, so there's nothing very much that Aaron Slight can do. But at the moment, there's the man in 2nd place, Gregorio Lavia, number 35.
And he's very, very bravely hanging on. We know just how well Troy Corser can time his moves, although having said that, he's brilliant time. He went a bit wrong on Monza when he went 20 miles an hour too fast into the Parabolica and took to the gravel. But here the guys go, still neck and neck, and it's a very, very exciting race going on at the moment. At the front, oh, and look at Jamie Whittam. He can't see anything, but that makes no difference. Whittam and Haga, I think they're probably soulmates, really, aren't they? I think the sort of guys who race absolutely on the edge together.
Yeah, kind of. But again, Whittam will probably be looking at the last lap. But it is always a gamble, because Corser there, he's in a perfectly happy 3rd place, as you say. With that result, that would take him into the lead of the championship. To pass Lavia, he's got to gamble it. He's going to have to dive up the inside. Maybe he's got the power on of that Ducati. I would say that down this straight is the easiest place to pass. It always was when I was racing, and if he can just get some speed down and get in the slipstream, but he's not close enough really to outbrake him into this turn 1, or is he? As soon as I say that, he goes through. So now Corser into 2nd place. That was really a block pass. He wasn't in a good position, but he just let the brakes off, ran down the inside and ran Lavia out wide. Why not? He wanted that 2nd place. So basically I'm getting it all wrong. When I say they're not passing, they are, and vice versa. We're on the final lap.
Well, Lavia just knocked people off last year, so he must be perfectly happy to have been passed without hitting the deck, and he can actually know that he's going to be on the podium if he stays on board during this last lap, and that's going to give this crowd a lot to be happy about at the end of this race, the first of round 4. 4th place Slight, 5th Edwards, 6th Hodgson, 7th Russell, 8th Gramini, 9th King Carl Fogarty, at present 45 seconds off the pace after a rather disappointing ride. And Hagasan and Whittam still absolutely tooth and nail, 3 seconds in front of Akira Yanagawa's Kawasaki. Number 7, Frankie Keeley. I think he's just been taking it very, very masterly and steadily during this last closing stages, Steve.
He's just responded to the pit board. He would have been given a +2 because he's immediately put it up to +4 with a very fast lap in that final one. So
that was
Keeley,
a long look over his left shoulder, wasn't it? I think he's feeling very comfortable with things.
Yeah, he's got a lot of time to look around. The last thing he needs to do is make a mistake. So he's 4 seconds in front on this final lap, and really it's just going to be a walk in the park for Frankie Keeley.
Well, that's good to see, because that's another winner in World Superbikes this year. Of course, we know that Frankie Keeley's won half a dozen World Superbike races during the course of his career. And here he comes round the final turn, gets up on the pegs. He's got time to do that. Yes, was that easy? Or was that easy, he says. A delighted Troy Corser knows that he's taken the world title lead. Gregorio, what 3 delighted men. Gregorio Lavia wheelies his way across. Congratulations, Bud. Well done, those, and that's a Ducati 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And behind them, Aaron Slight takes 4th place ahead of teammate Colin Edwards. Scott Russell in, and Scott Russell just nosed ahead of Neil Hodgson on that last lap. Back rub for Hodgson on the Kawasaki, and behind them, we're waiting for Gramini to come across the line. And here he comes. Gramini finishes in 8th place, his best result of the season by a long way. And somewhere trailing behind them, we'll probably find Carl Fogarty. I don't think it'll be a happy Carl. King Carl crosses the line now, and we'll look for the guys behind them out of our window here. And I don't think that...
Yeah, Haga takes, he gets that position, so Haga finishes in 10th place, James Whittam 7th, and Bontempi 12th. But interestingly,
Bontempi got Yanagawa absolutely in the burst to the line there. Great ride by the Italian.
The interesting thing for me is that prior to Superpole, Keeley and Corsa were in 9th and 10th on the grid. By the misfortunes for them in Superpole, it didn't particularly help them, but the Ducatis were really not having a good time here at Albacete. The rain's come down and they get 1st and 2nd. They'll be praying for the rain to continue.
They will. 1st, 2nd and 3rd. So Michelin, Dunlop on the podium, and congratulations from Virginio Ferrari to Frankie Keeley. Well done, that man. Keeley will be overjoyed. That'll shoot him up from 67, 77, 87 to 92 points. Into 5th place in the championship, past Aaron Slight. So Keeley, a good day's work for him. 119 new championship leader Troy Corser, 110 for the old championship leader Nori Haga, and I lost the rest of it. But anyway, Slight has slipped back to 6th place behind Frankie Keeley. So Keeley's done himself a very great deal of good with that particular win, and a very fine victory it was too. So Keeley wins it. Frankie Keeley on the Virginio Ferrari Ducati. Line here, and that is really some battle going on. Pier Giorgio Bontempi is actually back in front of Scott Russell. What a ride from the Bertocchi Kawasaki rider, number 9, Bontempi. But here we are looking a little bit further ahead. Aaron Slight, 111, and number 11, Troy Corser, hanging on to the Castrol Honda for dear life. But he's certainly looking aggressive. His body language looks good. He looks as if he's really on the case with the Castrol Honda, Aaron Slight.
Well, yeah, Aaron has looked like winning so many races this year, hasn't he? At Monza, he looked like he was going to clear off. Here, in fact, he'd been the fastest man all weekend. Superpole didn't do him any favours at all. He didn't get a particularly good start in this race, but he's going to struggle because Carl Fogarty, with the experience he has and the grit and the determination, he picked himself up from that crash in Superpole, was very dejected about that, went out in the race, the first race here today, and finished a disappointing 9th. But look, he's just stormed away from this. Got a great start, and really is showing the integrity of the man, where he can just get his head down and just clear off. And he now still has a 5-second advantage over Aaron Slight. And as he crosses the line now, there goes Carl Fogarty. We'll see in the background there's Aaron Slight coming round, and we wait to see what the gap is. Has it been closed down? No, it hasn't. It's still 5 seconds, and Carl Fogarty has responded, putting in the fastest lap again.
Great stuff from Foggy. And just to let you know that further back downfield, Jamie Whittam now is right on the rear wheel of Frederick Prota in 12th place, and Neil Hodgson was absolutely in the slipstream of Andrew Stroud, who's in 15th place as they screamed across the finishing line. So he's looking for that final point. Aaron Slight then in second place, but still almost 5.5 seconds down on that man, Carl Fogarty. So Foggy, the Blackburn Bullet, he's looking very, very comfortable. Famous last words, I shouldn't have said that, but anyway, Fogarty at the moment on the Ducati performance bike is looking to score his second race win of the season, and edging ever nearer the magical 50 in his victories in World Superbikes, the winningest rider by a long margin. Fogarty, of course, 103 points at the moment. A win would take him up to 128 points in the championship, which isn't bad going. It'll stick him right back into contention with Haga and Troy Corser. Oh, now those Michelin's just beginning to wear a little bit. What's going on there, Steve?
Well, they are starting to wear a bit, but I don't think he's under any real pressure. With 4 laps remaining, things are looking good. We see in the screen, in the small screen there, the crew intently looking at that monitor, and they'll be looking at the same as me as Carl Fogarty crosses the line now with Fenning. We wait to see about the gap. It was 5 seconds. We wait as Aaron Slight crosses the line, and it will come up on our screen in 1 minute. It's still 5.8 seconds. Carl Fogarty again puts in the fastest lap of the race. We saw the Ducati squirming around, and we know why, because he's still lapping quicker than anyone else in this race. He can really afford to start backing it off a bit, but when you do that, you can easily lose concentration.
And here's Pierre Giorgio Bontempi. Look at the race the Toki Kawasaki's putting up, still ahead of the factory bike of Akira Yanagawa, with Scott Russell in vain pursuit in his 100th World Superbike race. Now, in fact, just 4 seconds, less than 4 seconds ahead of Peter Goddard, who's really got the first Suzuki steaming. Behind him, Whittam still trying to get that 12th place from Frederick Prota, and Hodgson's got past Andrew Stroud into 15th, and Michaela praying.
Yeah, she is praying, and she'll be a happy lady. They've just moved into a new house in Blackburn, and she was telling me they're having the swimming pool put in, so they'll be jumping in there with a celebration swim when they get back. If Carl Fogarty can win this race, and it does look very much like he's going to, he's looking extremely comfortable as he exits turn 7 there onto the short back straight, and he'll go down into second gear for this right-hander here before he squeezes the power on, the 160 brake horsepower up towards the S's before they come through the S's. This is where he conditions it, getting ready for the Super Pole, and he'll shortly be coming into our view as he comes round the last turn, and he'll see 3 laps remaining as he crosses the start and finish line. And we wait with interest to see what that gap is. It was 5.8 seconds to Aaron Slight, and we wait as Slight comes up towards the line on the Castrol Honda, and time is 6.2. Carl Fogarty is extending that margin now and looking so comfortable.
He was 3/10ths faster than Slight on that lap, and Corser 2 seconds behind, exactly the same lap time as Aaron Slight, and it's still tight behind them. Bontempi Yanagawa absolutely neck and neck for first Kawasaki, and we also want to see what's happening further back. Jamie Whittam was only 2 seconds behind Igor Yerman, the 22-year-old Slovenian, in 11th place. So Whittam hunting down the Slovenian in the hope of getting himself a precious, clawing back a few more precious points, because at the moment Yanagawa and Peter Goddard will be escaping ahead of him in the championship table. Aaron Slight here, he's looking to add to his 86 points, and at the moment looking to add 20 to them, which will put him right slap bang in front of his teammate Colin Edwards in the title chase.
What is interesting is Troy Corser still holds the lap record here at 1:31.35. That is 2 seconds, nearly 2 seconds faster than what they're doing now. That was held from 1996 when he last rode in this World Superbike Championship before departing to the Grand Prix World. I think he wishes he hadn't, and he's probably pleased to be back. If things stay as they are, he will be coming away from Albacete with a points advantage in this championship, quite a healthy one at that. But times are considerably slower. Troy Corser is obviously working hard to try and stay with Aaron Slight, but that's not working. But it's Carl Fogarty is the fastest man on the circuit, and he comes across the line once again. He sees 2 laps remaining. His pit board will be giving him +5, +6 seconds, and we wait again to see if that advantage is stretched even more. And it is +6 seconds. So Troy Corser now is dropping off as well. He's 9 seconds behind Fogarty and 4 seconds behind Slight. So the things spread out. This is the widest margin we've seen from any race, I think, in World Superbike this season.
And Bontempi shaded by Yanagawa. What a tremendous duel the two Kawasaki boys are having in 6th and 7th places ahead of Scott Russell. Peter Goddard threatening Russell now. Goddard, another battle of the veterans. Yamaha versus Suzuki. They are just a second apart in 8th and 9th places. And Jean-Marc Delatang 10th. But Jamie Whittam is hunting him. Whittam making a tremendous recovery from his early motocrossing excursion in the first turn. And incidentally, Neil Hodgson on a very second-hand looking Kawasaki, now 2 points into the game with 14th place.
Yeah, considering he was dirt tracking on that lap one, he's done well to get back in the race. So has not only him, but James Whittam in 11th place, another one that was dirt tracking, so he's back in the points as well. And those points could be useful at the end of the season, no question about it. But we're looking at the second place man. It looks a pretty comfortable second. He's 4 seconds in front of Troy Corser, but he's 6 seconds behind the leader, and that is our Carl Fogarty.
Here comes Troy Corser onto the brakes on the Ducati. He's now a pretty comfortable third. I'm sure he would like it to be better, but the main thing I'm sure from his point of view is that Hager is behind him. Hager was well behind him in the first race. Hager is a vital place behind him in the second. Andrew Stroud glances to his left, gets out of the way of Carl Fogarty as Foggy goes into his final lap, into the right-hander at the end. Looks a little bit uncertain of where he should go as Stroud holds the racing line. But surely he's got plenty of time to bide his time and sort that one out. Second place, Aaron Slide. Third place, Troy Corser. Fourth place for Norrie Hager. And still Bontempi, as they go into the final lap, is heading in front of Yanagawa and keeping himself in position there in 6th place for far and away his best result of the season. And Russell and Goddard absolutely side by side as they go past. The next one to fastest should be Delatang and Whittam, but there'll be a fair gap before that happens. Jamie was only a second and a half down on the last lap, so he'll be looking for that 10th place. He really will be looking for that 10th place. And yes, they've just come into view now. Whittam absolutely on the tail of Delatang, the Frenchman, as they come out of the final turn. So Carl Fogarty, a triumphal final lap for him. Glances over his shoulder. No problems from his point of view. He really looks very comfortable. This is great. This is as good a race as he put on in Phillip Island. He looks a long look over his shoulder, and he knows that he's got the race in the bag. Carl Fogarty, your leader, the 1993 and 94 world champion, putting himself right slap bang back into contention for the 1998 World Superbike Championship. And wouldn't it be great to see him win a third championship? Well, it looks a possibility, much more of a possibility now than it did when he was struggling in 9th place in the wet race one. Yes! Fogarty lifts the wheel of the Ducati. Second place for Aaron Slide. Third place for Troy Corser. A selection of wheelies of various distances, and a jubilant Carl Fogarty punches the air. He knows he's put himself right back in the frame. Fourth place Hager, fifth only just ahead of Chile, and Bontempi just shades it from Yanagara. A great ride into 6th place.
And a happy Castrol Honda team. We saw Chris Herring there, was very happy with that result, and so he should be from Aaron Slight. That's not a bad result from him at all, but the Ducati team are the jubilant ones, and there's Carl Fogarty, our twice World Superbike champion, giving it a real good burn out there. MBE and everything else, and he's a happy man. Look, nonchalantly looks over his shoulder with the rear of that bike spinning up. Hager there, finishing in 4th place. He won't particularly be pleased with that, but nevertheless he's gained a lot of points.
And Jamie Whittam has just crossed the line, a fraction ahead of Jean-Marc Delatang, so he's nicked that 10th place, which is a great showing after he was grovelling around in the gravel on the outside of turn 1 on the first lap. And here also comes Neil Hodgson across the line in a very battered Kawasaki to take a very well-earned 14th place after being dumped at the first turn. So Foggy wins it. Aaron Slide second, Corser third, Hager fourth, Keeley, Bontempi a wonderful 6th place, an inch ahead of Yanagawa. Goddard got the better of Russell in the dash for the line. Great finish for Peter Goddard. And 10th place, another wonderful ride. He may be a long way back, but believe me, Jamie Whittam came a long way forward to 10th place. 11th, Delatang. 12th, Yerman. 13th, Rick Protas Ducati. And in 14th place, that man, Neil Hodgson. He'll be bitterly disappointed with that. 2 points is better than none at all. And beside me, Steve Parrish, whose maths I never entirely trust, is desperately trying to work out the World Championship positions. But we know that Carl Fogarty will have put himself back in there. And in fact, we've got them in front of us now. We can give you them straight away. 135 points Corser. Fogarty goes second with 128. Hager third on 123. Aaron Slight 106. Fifth place, Keeley moves past Edwards as well onto 103. Edwards on 98. And they're up in front of you now. Yanagawa 55, 8th Goddard 53, 9th a brave Whittam on 50, 10th an equally brave Neil Hodgson on 45. So those guys who looked down and out in the first turn have salvaged their top 10 positions in the World Championship. So there's Carl Fogarty. What a happy man. Carl Fogarty, he has taken the win, his second of the season, and he's